for mastering.
Do we look like we're in Portlandia? Have you ever watched Portlandia?
No. You can tell this was scripted.
We did it.
We did it.
We finished the song. This is a song we've been not finishing for 5 years.
Yes.
And Universal Audio asked me if I wanted to participate in this Luna challenge, which basically is just like they asked people if they want to produce a song from start to finish just using Luna. And since I have been using Luna, I thought, yeah, this would be a great excuse to force us to finish this song.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. I will give you my thoughts, pros and cons of the whole thing later in the video. But it worked and we finished the song. I've never done a song from start to finish so fast. And I think I'm actually surprisingly pleased with how great it turned out. Technically, it was 9 days.
Well, over the course of 9 days, but when you have a kid and
over the course of 9 days, we actually had time to work on it 5 of those days. Day 1, Sam Hunter came over. Day 2, Ben Satterlee came over, did drums. And day 3, I did bass and production. Day 4, we did vocals. And day 5, I mixed.
We're still waiting on the master.
I finished mixing this yesterday, and Adam Yukon Harr will be sending us the master right after you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
And hit subscribe.
I didn't know he was going to do that. Surprised me too.
So if you've seen the previous videos of producing music in a home studio on this channel, then you will be very familiar with part of this process. I'm going to very much skim through it because there's a lot to unpack here. Open up Luna. I'm going to pop some headphones on here so I can hear this. Okay, so this is the Luna session for the whole song. If we flip back over into the mix view here, you can see all of the tracks for the whole mix. And it's set up very much how I always set things up. Master fader all the way to the left. Then I have my 2 mix buses right next to that. Then I have my sub mixes for all my effects and sort of my different sub mixes. And then all the audio tracks to the right. All right, let's flip over to the edit window here and sort of break down what exactly is in this session. So on day 1, Sam Hunter came over and we essentially knocked out all of the guitars for this song. Sam is a session guitar player. You've seen him in my other videos, the home studio tour. Very talented, very awesome musician here in Nashville. He came over and sat there with me, listened to some old demo that I had of it, and charted out the song, and we knocked out 6-string acoustic on his back porch acoustic. We recorded that with an SM81 into the Apollo using the 1081 channel strip, and then we doubled that with the Martin 12-string. Here, check this out. I want to show you. This is one of the things that I like. In the mix view, you can go to your submix, and I can actually hit spill on the acoustic submix, and I can just solo the acoustics here. Now let's listen to them. See if we're at the top. Yeah. So as you can see, there's automation on the tracks. This is a finished mix now. On my individual audio tracks, I just have some filtering from the Pro Q3. And then on the submix, I'm doing just a broad high-pass filter, a little bit of probably top-end boost, and roll-off on the Pultec Pro, and a compression, a little bit of compression from the FabFilter Pro C2. As you can see on the mix window, I'm using the Luna Studer A800 on the individual audio tracks for most of these tracks. Okay, so we have the rhythm, and then there's sort of a complementary electric part with the Jazz Master, and then he did this sort of tag melody that we put on the intro, the tag in the middle of the song, and then the outro chorus. So I will solo that so you can check it out. This is the electric guitar. So instead of doing the traditional sort of doubling the part, we really focused on having guitars that were playing uh, with each other, not the exact copies of each other, but sort of playing together. Now, if we solo the acoustics with that, you can hear the exact same thing. When Ariana and I originally wrote this song, it was very much just one riff that played the whole time. And it was because I was really just playing a riff, and Ariana recorded it and then sort of wrote it into a song. So Sam did an excellent job of breaking down each individual guitar part into its own complementary, sort of tasteful performance that really made the song interesting to listen to. So let's jump ahead to the pre-chorus here and check that out. So once Sam and I basically finished most of the guitar parts, I asked him to go out on a limb and come up with some sort of guitar melody that would be essentially a tag, that would be that thing that, you know, from these old 90s throwback songs where it has that guitar part that just, you could sing it and you know exactly what the song is and you remember, it sticks in your head. And I just, right as Sam and I finished, I threw that out there. I was like, hey, can you throw one of these things in there that would turn it into sort of a one hit wonder? And this is what he came up with. Now, at the end, I had him overdub it with his Jazzmaster, and we threw a big fuzz on it because it's kind of like a big outro. So I actually cut the telly out, and we just did the Jazzmaster with the fuzz on it. It's on this track here called Fuzzmaster. And as you can see, again, just a little bit of EQ, a lot of roll off. So to me, the melody part on the guitar or the piano or whatever it is a very important part to a song. So I wanted to make sure that we got that, and Sam did an excellent job. He just sort of pulled that out of thin air. Next, day 2, our friend Ben Satterlee came over and laid down some drums. And this was a very important part of the process because historically, I've recorded this song a few times on my own, really just for fun, and never finished it. But I thought it was important that we bring somebody fresh into the picture who can bring their objective taste for what the song needs, as far as like the drums that he brought and the sound and the style, and he did an excellent job. He brought his own snare and cymbals, and they fit the style perfectly. They definitely weren't what I would have picked if it was just me, but that's why I brought him in, for his objective perspective of what would meet the standard of what the song should be. So let's listen to what he did a little bit soloed of the drums here. These are the drum tracks down at the bottom. So when Ben came in, the one thing that I really wanted to hit home with on this song was getting this kick snare rhythm, which was like a boom, da, boom, boom, da, boom, da, boom, boom, da, boom, boom. Like that rhythm going through the chorus and the verses, I thought was so important to the melody of the song, the guitar riff that's repeating through the whole thing. And then after he knocked that out for the whole song, then we went through and we tried some different fills and came up with he came up with some really amazing stuff. So that's why you hear that big bombastic fill right in the top of the song, which I think just gets it started off on such a cool way. Here's the fill at the top. And here it is with the guitars. So you can hear that rhythm on the drums and how important, you'll see when you hear the finished song, how important that is to the whole mood of the song and really making it stick in your head. So on day 3, after we did drums with Ben, I did bass and then I overdubbed percussion as well, because rhythm is such a important element to this style of song. You know, it's really a simple instrumentation of drums, percussion, bass, piano, and guitars. There's a little bit of programming on there that I did as well, but on day 3, I did tambourine and shaker overdubs, which I really wanted to complement the drum rhythm. This stands out most on the pre-chorus. So I'll go ahead and solo the percussion that I did with the drums, and you can sort of hear I was doing a one shaker on the left side of the mix that is very consistent eighth notes, and then I overdubbed like a counter rhythm with 2 different types of shakers to have a really nice combination of textures sort of moving in and out with each other. So here is the percussion with the drums on the pre-chorus. You can really hear that. And then, of course, on the chorus, tambourine comes in. Actually, the tambourine is in the intro, the pre-chorus, and the chorus. It comes out at the verses and the breakdown part of the bridge. So yeah, you can hear the percussion adds a really big part of that element. I will throw in the bass now. The bass is also a big part of the rhythm to this song, and I'm not a bassist, so we can all make fun of how I play and the pick that I used on the bass. I just did bass DI, and I recorded right into the Heisey input of the Apollo X, and I used this Ampeg here. It's the Ampeg SVT-VR, and this is literally the setting I used. It was a preset. It was called Rock 1, and I think I just pulled the treble down and boosted the mid-range a little bit on it. And yeah, it kind of fit the song perfect. So here is the bass. I'll do the bass solo so you can hear the tone, and then I'll throw in the drums and percussion. Now, on the mix for this, I did this thing that I got from Eric Valentine, which is using the Pultec and boosting and attenuating the same frequency at 30 hertz, which I had never done before, but actually wound up sounding really, really nice with the drums. So let me pull in the drums and the percussion here, and you can sort of hear how things play together. So since I'm not a bassist, the part that I played was very rhythm focused, and it's very simple, and it not only was all I can do, but it also was appropriate for the song, so it turned out really well. Let me jump to the last chorus here, and you can hear how the bass and the percussion and the drums all work together to get this really nice feeling. And let me pull in the guitars as well so we can hear this, how it all sort of goes together. after I did the percussion and the bass, then I got a little weird with Luna because they have some built-in instruments that I wanted to try out. So I used the one called Shape, and then which is a sampler, I believe, and then I used the Mini Moog, which was a lot of fun. I'm not a very well-versed synthesizer person, but I definitely had a lot of fun, and I found a cool combination of sounds that I think worked really well for this era of music. And I think I just used it on the intro, the tag, the pre-chorus, and then the outro, and the drop of the bridge. So it's not in the verses, and it's not in the main choruses, but it's in the outro chorus. So this is what the Shape sound that I got. It was called One Finger Drummer, and it's kind of corny, but perfectly corny for the song, I think. Let's check it out. And that's it. That's the whole part. And the bass drum part of the drum machine actually follows the note on the MIDI controller, so that worked out really, really well for the part. And then the second instrument I used was the Mini Moog, and I found this cool patch called Soft Lead Wah, and I just put my controller on the arpeggiator, and this is sort of the part that I think really brought a lot to this section, or to these sections of this song, and this plays together with the One Finger Drummer. So here it is soloed, the Mini Moog part. So yeah, it's just one note arpeggiating, but when you add in the One Finger Drummer, you add in the bass, the percussion, you add everything else in, it's such a cool combination of things. Check this out. This is everything but the piano. So the way the arpeggiator sort of plays in with that drum loop and then the rhythm of everything else, it's very simple parts, but the rhythm to me is the most sort of hypnotic part of the whole thing, and that was a lot of fun to do. Next is the piano, which is a MIDI piano. I just used the Ravel, which is a built-in piano software that Luna has, and it just sounded like this. It was awesome. So I now that it's mixed, I've got a lot of it sort of rolled off, and the panning's a little funky. Let me bypass this, and we can kind of hear. Yeah, it turned out really, really nice, and it definitely fit the style of the song, which is obviously the most important part when producing, is you want to find parts and sounds that are appropriate for the song. So with everything together, it sounded like this. So that was the first 3 days, and then day 4 we did vocals, and Ariana and I did the vocals together. She did one main lead part on the verses, and the choruses she doubled the lead. So let's just pan straight up the middle. And then on the pre-chorus, I did a very subtle harmony that sort of very, very subtle. Let's see here.
And I feel fine.
Just a unison part that matches hers as well, but it just adds, since it's a new section and sort of the song is progressing, it felt nice to have a different, especially a male voice with hers. And then on the chorus, she does 2 harmonies on the front half, and then I do I think 2 or 3 harmonies as well. So this is the
Oh baby, it's a song play it one more time before I'm gone.
And then on the back half of the chorus, it is I join her in doubling the front part of the back half of the chorus, and then there is another resolve there too. So here's the back half.
Oh, baby, it's a song. I'll play it one more time before I'm gone.
Very simple vocal production. On the second verse, there's just a little ad-lib here that we distorted. There's a little whisper part and then one harmony. Same vocal production on the pre-chorus. The chorus repeats, and then on the bridge, we did these gang vocals together, which turned out really, really cool. We were kind of going for like a bar sort of feeling of the whole bar singing together. So when you put the music in, it sounds really cool. Then it repeats, and then the only thing that changes is there's a drop at the end of the song before the last chorus, where it's just Ariana drums and guitar. And then on the back half of the chorus, we cut the background vocals and substitute them for the gang vocals. So this is sort of how the last chorus goes into the outro.
Oh, baby, it's a song. I'll play it one more time before I'm gone. Oh, baby, it's a song. I'll play it one more time before I'm gone.
And that's it. It's a very, very simple arrangement, very, very simple production and instrumentation, but it was just sort of finding all the right things that fit the story and the taste of the song. So yeah, that's how we put everything together. I mixed it on day 5. All right, so let's talk about using Luna for this whole thing, because this was a good exercise of using a new DAW from beginning to end and forcing myself to just figure it out, which was I'll start with the pros. I would say one of the biggest pros for me was the fact that I was able to do it. And I've been using Pro Tools for the last 10 years, and I used Logic for a large portion of those years as well. I've been reluctant to try other DAWs because there's such a learning curve to switching. And I think Luna or Universal Audio did a great job as far as making it very easy to make the switch. Now, I do think it depends on the kind of work that you're doing. For me, it is very much I'm spending a lot of time tracking and mixing, and as well doing some MIDI stuff, but primarily I'm spending most of my time tracking with musicians and artists and working with them on the performance side and actually capturing that stuff. So I would say that is very much catered to the work that I do. So and being able to actually do every single part of this process as easily as I did, and again, we did this whole thing in 5 days. That to me is the biggest pros. The fact that, I'm extremely happy with how it turned out. And this is all just kind of like nutty that it was even possible to do this. So, all right, so we'll start off with that's pro number 1. Pro number 2, console tracking mode. So this is a mode that I'm not going to dig too deep into it. I'm honestly just going to make an entire video on this topic itself. I think the quickest way to break it down is Luna has instant recall on the track. So if you record vocals and you get a sound and you record them and then you come back a week later and then you hit the record enable button on that same vocal track, it immediately recalls all of the settings that you used when you tracked vocals. And then when you disarm it, it automatically mutes the track in console, and then it bypasses all of those plugins so you can allocate your DSP resources accordingly. But again, I'm going to get into that in another video. The next pro for me is what's called the Focus Browser. Now, this is kind of similar to Logic in a lot of ways. I think the Focus Browser, which is on the left side of the screen, this section here on the left side of the screen, which defaults in the edit view to your track list, is essentially how you control route everything. You can use it for showing and hiding tracks, changing parts of your tracks, changing the colors, changing your selecting and changing and searching plugins, changing your routing, your IO, your busing. All of that stuff happens in this focus browser. And at first I was a little hesitant and kind of pessimistic on it, but as I got into the weeds and was really moving, it wound up to be super, super fast. And that's actually one of my favorite parts of this whole thing. And as you can see right next to the focus browser, they have the single track. So whatever track you have selected shows up. This is very much a Logic thing. So if you guys are used to working in Logic, you will like this. This is extremely similar to it. Okay, the next pro, the spill button. Now, you're going to see this in the mix window. So when I flip over here to my mix window, on your buses that you have a button that's called spill. So if I have all of my drum audio tracks going to a drum submix bus, I can hit this spill button, and it's only going to show me the tracks that are sending to that bus, which is really nice. If you have a ton of tracks in your mix and you don't want to be scrolling all the way around, you can just hit that spill button and it will only show you. It doesn't solo it, but it only shows you what's sending to that bus, which really makes digging into specific parts of the mix, especially for my workflow, a lot faster. So that's definitely a big pro for me. The next pro, which is very much unique to the DAW, is their tape saturation built into Luna, and then they also have the Neve summing. Now, I've never been a big summing mixer guy. I've always been a big Neve guy. I love Neves. So there is definitely some thought that they put into the Neve summing, and I don't know enough about it to really get like technical with you, but I will say it's better with it. I don't think the Neve summing comes free. I think it's an add-on. When you install Luna, it does come with a built-in tape saturation, and it is the Oxide version of the tape machine. So you have Oxide right away when you install Luna, and then you can add on different tape machines. As far as I know, it's just the Studer A800. I could be wrong on that. There might be different options available. It looks like you can maybe substitute in some different things. But essentially, you can add on this tape saturation onto your audio tracks directly and customize how that saturation is affecting the audio track. Let's listen to this section without the Neve summing and without the tape saturation and see how it sounds. All right, so yeah, definitely appropriate for this song too. And what's cool is you can customize so much of the tape saturation and the summing that you can really cater it towards the style of the music and how you want to use it as a tool. So definitely a big pro for me. And then of course the sleeper pro, which is called accelerated real-time monitoring. Now in the mix window, you can see this little button here over the solo. This button enables accelerated real-time monitoring, which I'll have to do another video on that as well, because that is in itself its own thing. All of these things are actually pretty complicated features, but make such a massive difference to being able to minimize the time you're spending on like technical stuff and maximizing the fun that you're having while you're working and just being able to get right to it. So all of these pros for me are a huge deal and make such a massive difference as far as the speeding up the process. I mean, this is the proof is in the pudding here. I did this whole thing in 5 days. So, and this is a new program. So to me, like, all good things. All right, now let's talk about the cons. There are definitely cons. First and foremost, it's Mac only. So if you're using a Windows or PC computer, as of now, no Luna. So, you know, that's for sure a con, especially if you have an Apollo X and you're using Windows. Got to work that out. That's a big deal. Okay, second one, you have to have an Apollo X interface. Now, I do think, to be fair, that's sort of the whole point, is most of these features are directly tied to the hardware as far as how they work together in that sort of system. So it is a bummer that you can't get this if you don't have the Apollo X. it is what it is. You know, it's kind of like the old Avid Pro Tools HD systems. You had to have the HD interfaces to be able to use HD Pro Tools. So it is very much a similar thing. I do think it's cool that if you buy into the Apollo X, it can have a lower price point if you just get one of the tabletop, like the Twin or something, and then Luna is free. Whereas back in the day when you had to get the whole TDM card thing for the computer, and then you had to pay for Pro Tools and the interfaces, and it's up too much. So kind of a bummer, but I get it. I mean, it makes sense. So the other drawback is there's no real-time audio suite compatibility. Now, I personally use a couple plugins that are just for audio suite use, like Synchro Arts Vocal Line, and that I just can't use that because it's an audio suite plugin, and there's not that feature yet. Hopefully, Universal Audio, get it going. Honestly, it's not a massive deal breaker for me because I only use it on very specific things. But on this song, there was, a pretty fair amount of vocals, and I didn't have to use it. I'm pretty good with warp mode, so flipping the track to warp mode and just adjusting time if I need to. That, it's not as fast as Vocal Line, but, definitely a bummer. Get that audio suite going. And then the last one, this one is for sure maybe just me being stupid, but as far as I can tell, there's no way to do sidechain key input or bussing. So like if you want to bus your kick drum to your bass and you want to sidechain it into the plugin, like there's no way to do that. As far as I can tell, I've looked through the Luna documentation and I can't find a way to send a signal to a bus that can therefore go into a plugin. And not only that, when you use a plugin that has sidechain capability, there's nowhere to select the key input. So that's got to be worked out. And big bummer there. All right, so those are my thoughts as far as pros and cons of using Luna.
I just want to say thank you, Sam and Ben and Adam. You guys are all great, and you all really helped us out, and especially in a pinch because we did it pretty darn fast. So Sam, you're super talented. And Sam Hunter, Ben Satterlee, Adam Yukon Harr. Yep. Adam mastered it. Go check his website out. Link in the description. Ben Satterlee, Nashville drum coach. Go subscribe to him on Instagram and YouTube. And
we'll have them in the links below, I assume.
Also, this is Ariana's first music release ever.
Yep. I've written many songs. I have not completed any of them until this one. So.
This is the first finished and released song.
Yes.
So make Ariana feel good and go check it out on Spotify and wherever you listen to your music. Ariana Masters. Song's called Summertime.
You guys are about to see the final product of the song that we made with Luna. So enjoy.
And you're going to see the in-studio footage of all of us actually recording it. This is like, not only did we do the whole song, but I amazingly was able to film every single part. It was kind of a nightmare to edit. But now you get to see it, and we get to remember it forever. Here's the song. Make sure to go check it out wherever you listen to music. Smash the like button and give Ariana high fives.